Okay, so Jake, thank you so much for coming in, man.
Alec, thanks for having me.
Of course. You want to give the audience a little kind of high-level background about who you are, what you do, etc., so that when we dive into the other things, they'll understand?
You got it. You got it. So I'm Jake Stotter, third generation now here at FenceWorks, also known as the guy on 41. We started in 1967, so a little over 58 years ago now. So a lot of things have changed, but not a lot at the same time, right? We're always trying to keep our essence of who we are and where we started and not reinvent the wheel. Sure. But it's crazy to be ignorant to the fact that times have changed and so forth. But what do? FenceWorks, hence the name, we do fences. But we also do playgrounds, basketball hoops, and trampolines as well. So full service, right? So from not only consultation, whether it's a site visit in our showroom in Northbrook or over the phone or may have you, that is probably the bulk of our business, as well as, of course, the sale of the product. And then through installation, so full service, white glove, no boxes dropped on your driveway, no delivery fees, none of that, right? Full service. And then, of course, service, right? So something goes wrong, we're not a big call center. You talk to Jake, or you talk to my uncle, or you talk to my grandpa or my dad, right? It's a little bit different than what people are maybe known to that didn't grow up knowing who we are. So
Sure. You said third generation, right?
Third,
we were talking a little bit off camera here. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thanks, man.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
So the way that I kind of found you and reached out to you, I don't know if you were running ads or on a different podcast or something, but I came across your Instagram. What's your Instagram handle again?
So it's FenceWorks _ the guy on 41.
Okay. Yeah. So your Instagram is really cool. And
thanks, man.
So I'm getting married in September.
Congrats.
Kids shortly thereafter. I want a big family. I grew up in like small town Wisconsin, so Stevens Point, Wisconsin, population of, I don't know, 50,000, like big yards, fences, whatever. Yeah. So the whole jungle gym idea was very interesting, and so yeah, your Instagram was very interesting. Reached out. That's how we got connected here. A couple quick tidbits about myself. I'm in the Army Reserves. That's been super fun. Enjoy that. Awesome. Second generation real estate family, if you will. So I have some properties up in Madison, Wisconsin, one in Milwaukee, and then one in Miami.
Awesome.
So that's been fun. My mom has created a very solid size portfolio. She's done great in Stevens Point, so I get the generational thing. I don't know if have you ever heard of like family offices? Do you know like a family offices by chance?
I can think. Technically, we're a family office, right? Like, if that's what you mean, like the literal sense.
Similar, but like, so there's this group. I guess it's like high net worth individuals, family offices. Like, let's say that there's a family that has a company, and their matriarch or patriarch has like an exit of some sort, and they just have all this money, sure, right? And they're kind of focused on investing it and preserving it. I went to a couple of their events. In my opinion, it's good to be like on the lower side of things. Like, you always want to be pulled up, right? Be the stupidest person in the room so you're pulled up. So me and my mom are like, okay, what can we do and where can we go where we're in that position? So went to these events, but they're talking about the third generation is always the one that loses the money, the business, etc. So what's your experience been on being third gen and kind of rolling through that?
I'm very grateful. My grandfather, who was first generation, who started the company in 67, still kicking it. You know, just turned 85 yesterday. He is an amazing mentor and has so much experience. I mean, he talks about from the times we did basketball hoops for pretty much all of the 90s Bulls when they were, you know, the Jordans, the Pippins, and I do have one really quick fun story.
Yeah, hit it.
Kind of puts in perspective how, you know, iconic of a brand that the guy in 41 has been, at least again in the Chicagoland, you know, area, North Shore suburbs specifically for sure.
So guy on 41, yeah. Are you on 41st Street? You said okay. So like break that down.
Level. Yeah, let's back up. So we used to be in Highland Park, Route 41 on Skokie Valley Road. So we were there for, God knows, over 58 years, at least 30 of it. And then about 7 years ago, we moved over to Northbrook. But yes, we were on Route 40, on Route 41.
That's where it comes from.
And this is kind of where the nickname kind of really started to solidify. Was my grandfather was in LA at a hotel, and he's waiting for his car to be pulled up, and he sees an SUV, you know, all blacked out, pull up, and my grandpa's just, you know, casually waiting there with his wife, my grandma, and this car rolls down the windows. My grandpa can barely see, and he's like, this guy points to him. He's like, that's the guy on 41. It was Michael Jordan.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah, so
that's super cool.
Jordan came into our office back when we were at 41. My grandpa, went to his house and did the full consult and did a basketball hoop for them. But
nice,
did pretty much all the 90s Bulls except Rodman, but we don't. That's another story. But anyway, so that's how the name really kind of stuck. And from there, a lot of people, again, our URL for our website is theguyon41.com. So it's confusing a little bit now, right? We're not on 41 now, but it's hard to
get rid of the brand or the,
right?
Yeah.
So that's my grandfather.
Okay.
So he's first generation, 85, still comes in the office every day. I think he retired, a decade ago. But if you understand anything, when you start something with your bare hands from the ground up, it's hard to let go. So
sure.
He'll be there till the very last second, and I'm very grateful for that. Then we have second generation being my uncle, who manages and does most of, all of the Chicago fences. So he's the guy going to your house. If we get a lead or a job opportunity to come out for an estimate in Chicago, that's my uncle in the city. That's Sandy. And then there's third generation me, who is really kind of spearheading our marketing as well as running our playground, basketball, and trampoline departments. So with that all said, right, how is it now being third generation? My goal is to absorb and learn from them as much as possible. I'm very thankful for the support that I do have. And I tell them, and I stress this very much, that I'm not trying to come in here to reinvent the wheel. My background is in tech, so I was a product manager for 6 years. I went to Miami University in Ohio, not the warm one, Miami OH, and got a marketing degree there, and then led into my product management career. So worked for a startup in San Diego, come up a couple Fortune 500 clients in my more corporate days as well. And that really gave me, my background in tech and digital, and showing the importance of a really quality website and social presence and all those things.
It's crazy.
That ultimately, the other two generations above me we're really not exposed to. We were for many years, grateful for our location being such a high traffic visibility location on 41. Now we're in Northbrook in an industrial type district, not as much traffic. So it's just that much more important, more than ever, to be creative and trying different marketing tactics. Because if you do get complacent that, everyone's going to remember who we are and our reputation and referrals and accounts will carry us, you're going to fail. So I think that, again, it took some time to build that rapport with them.
Sure.
They see this young tech guy coming in. Jake, you've worked, but we've been here for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and you're trying to tell us what to do, and that's absolutely not the case. And at first, they were very...
There's a big knowledge gap.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not knowledge, but like misunderstanding, I think, between, like you said, the generations. And it's so interesting. Even somebody that's like, you're 29, right?
I just turned 29, yeah.
So I'm 27. So somebody that's like, I feel like once you start hitting like 33, 34, 35, and that might be a little young, but that relative age, they don't understand how to use the internet, I feel like, the way that we do. Sure. They use it a little bit. They might know about it, but like, dude, I don't know, like, anything I want to know, any answers I need, I'm going straight to the internet. I can figure that shit out real quick, super fast, whatever. And whereas they'll be like, oh, what about this? Like, I don't know, just different. It's very interesting.
Warrior.
It's interesting.
It's called being a keyboard warrior.
There you go.
That has a negative connotation, of course.
Yeah.
But it is true. Right?
Yeah.
I give a quote on a playground, and within 2 minutes, people could be on their phone trying to find comparable ideas and try to compare to and price gouge and all those things, right? And it's a different world now.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's dive into, so we were talking a little bit off camera too about some of the negatives when it comes to like pricing by square foot and all this. Can you break down like maybe that's the correct term, the misconceptions or the hey, look out for this if you are looking for a playground or fencing? Could we dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I kind of mentioned, right, I haven't really dove into the fence side of the business yet. That's really my uncle and my dad and my grandfather, and I've been mainly responsible for kind of solidify. And again, we've been doing playgrounds of basketball and trampoline for at least 30 plus years of our 58-year existence. But with that said, let's dive into a little bit on the fence side.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that we can get into this, a whole other subject that
Take it wherever you want.
yeah, that a lot of these fence companies have been bought by or backed by private equity because there isn't a next generation to take over, and these guys that have started that are really old and don't have someone to pass it down to, they get bought out, and these PE firms or whatever you want to call it come in, and they're really good at marketing, really good at advertising, really good at spending money to get the name out there, but they don't know the first thing about how to run a fence company. And it is so many times I hear my uncle and my dad say, yeah, this company or this client, for example, went with X company, and then we're coming back to fix all of their problems, right? Or what they did because, for example, there'll be a company that on their website or over the phone when the customer calls and says, hey, I saw your Google ad, can I get a fence? And then the company will ask, oh, how many what's the footage of your fence? Like, is it 200 feet? You want wood? Great. It's going to be X cost. And they're just looking to get numbers and get jobs. Then this is where I'm coming back to where we're coming back to fix it. They take this, number and the cost, they come out, and what they don't account for is, this dip in their yard or this tree or these roots or may have you, and it ends up costing the customer so much more. So that's from really the fence side. And then on I call it the play departments, playgrounds, basketball hoops, trampolines, a lot of those, again, there is no one else, and again, this is not to sound anything other than it's just a fact. There's no one else in the Chicagoland area, right? And I've connected with some great other companies throughout the country that have similar setups to ours, but there's no one in the Chicagoland area offering fences, basketball hoops, playgrounds, trampolines, where it is family owned and operated, right? There's a lot of misconception with that, right? Family owned. Of course, family can own a company, but then have someone else running it. We are family owned and operated. You walk into our showroom, you see my grandfather, you see my dad, my uncle, my grandma. It's just, there's nothing else like it. But, with that said, it's really, aside from us, it's dominated by online retailers. So fully e-commerce, right? Where there's no brick and mortar, right? You're seeing stuff on a website. You'll see, the price of this was $9,000. Now it's $2,000. No, it wasn't. That's all crap, right?
Just sales tactics.
It's just sales tactics, right? And people are smarter now, and customers see through that. So that's something we don't do. This is our price, right? And this is it. And so it's the online retailers, the e-commerce, and then there's the franchisees, right? There's these companies that people assume because they have a store, okay, must be a family-owned operation. No, it's franchised. There's one company in particular, I know it's franchised. There's 50 locations. Maybe they do birthday parties and stuff like that. And again, a lot of smoke and mirrors, right, to allude to something that they're not. And people are catching on to that. So
why not support a local family business when you can anyways, right? Like, I think as consumers, I think that's something that we do have to be careful and aware of, because I feel like at some point PE is going to own everything, do everything. It's just like real estate, right? Like, nobody's going to be able to buy real estate because of how expensive it is becoming. Like, the generation below us is fucked. Like, good luck buying a house. In 20 years, that shit will be $1 million for a 2-bed, 1-bath. Good luck. See you pizza.
Right? Oh my God.
So I kind of, it's very cool. And like me, that's something that I always pay attention to, is like local, family owned. I really always appreciate that. And I think more people are starting to appreciate that and see the value in that as well. So hopefully, yeah, that's awesome, man.
For sure.
Let's go back a little bit, kind of jump back into your career. You said you lived in San Diego?
I did.
Let's talk about that. Experiences, crazy stories, fun things.
Oh, God. So graduated, worked for a consultancy firm for 3 years in Chicago, young, single at the time, and was like, all right, like, this is the time to go out, spread my wings.
Sure.
And I knew eventually I'd always come back to Chicago. My family's here. But I was like, whether it's for 6 months, for a year, it ended up being about a year. I think I'd look back and be like, I'm glad I took, a chance or got out. And it was awesome. I mean, San Diego's a beautiful place. It's 60 or 70 degrees and sunny every day, never too hot, never cold. I'm not a surfer. Funny enough, I Again, put me on a boat. I'm loving it. I love to be on the water. I am scared of going in the water. You cannot pay me like a big ocean, like body of water, and you just say, oh, just jump in for a dip. That scares the crap out of me.
I'm with you 100% right there.
It's just, for me, it's like, and again, people joke like, Jake, you played football, like you played sports, you got hit hard, like, why are you scared of going in the water? And for me, it's just not being able to see what is underneath me is just so scary.
Lakes, you won't go in lakes either?
I've gotten better, so like, especially with like bachelor parties and stuff, kind of picking up here, and just my friends we all love to go like Lake Geneva. It's not too far of a drive in the summer. I love to golf. Big golfer. Every day's different. Some days I think I'm good, and some days I think I'm horrible. But it's always fun, right? Because it's always an opportunity to beat your next score. The competitiveness internally, at least, and just with friends, it's awesome. But anyway, so I've gotten better with lakes. I've opened up to it. Yeah.
Okay. I don't like going in the water either. You never catch me in the water, but it's not only that I can't see. It's something about just being like wet and in the water. I don't know. It's weird. I don't like. Got to go
together, right?
Yeah,
can't have one without the other. But I got you.
So fiance's family has a house in Lauderdale Lakes, which is like just north of Lake Geneva. So we're always up there doing stuff.
Nice.
And I'm like, I'll just sit here and watch as y'all go. I'll go in the boat, like you said. But I'm not.
I'll make sure the boat's safe. I'll keep the beer cold. Yeah, I got you.
Exactly. So very interesting. Okay, so you spent a year out there. What was like the best thing that you learned, or the funniest or scariest thing that happened? Like, give me a clip here.
Sure. I got you. It's different, right? I think I guess from a professional side, right? Before that I was working for a large consultancy called Sapient Razorfish that then became Publicis Sapient, which is owned by Publicis Group. Massive company. I was working on very large clients like McDonald's, Mercedes-Benz, and it was cool because, again, I got to work with really cool brands, but I was a very small fish in a really big sea. And again, I always had aspirations at the back of my head that I wanted to join the family business, but I didn't want to join too quickly, and I wanted to bring value back.
Provide and I knew value. You had to learn,
right. And I knew our gap was from a digital side, right? Mm-hmm. Again, we have been the reputation and has been there, and that is something that won't go away, but it still needs to be nurtured because there's people moving from out of state or didn't see us maybe on didn't get our direct mail or see our location back in the day. So I always had the back of my head, how can I build my foundational blocks now so that when I do enter, I'm just not the grandson that walks in, right?
Sure.
And actually has value to bring, and that I knew on the back of my head from the day one was digital. And in San Diego, I was working for a startup. It was mainly, again, completely not playground or fences or anything like that. It was mainly blockchain clients or SaaS companies, software as a service companies. I started off as a product manager there, and then wanted to dip myself into sales. So I was working on, selling, effectively the agency and the services that we provided. And again, I think for me, why I went out there was, twofold. One, just to say or look back that, hey, I got out of Chicago. I was grateful. I traveled abroad. I was in Shanghai. I did an internship out there for a marketing agency for a couple months in the summer. I studied abroad in Barcelona and traveled throughout Europe. So I'm very grateful.
You've been all over.
I've been all over.
That's awesome,
very grateful.
Man.
It's great. But and San Diego was kind of in that same realm where I just wanted to test myself and get out and try. I always wanted to work for a startup and see what that was like. I was the 19th employee before I left after a year and a half. It was almost over 100. So
you got some equity?
No, nothing like that. But looking back, that could have been something. But I didn't really strive for it because, again, I always knew that I was always going to come back.
You were just learning.
Of course, in hindsight, that'd be great. But it wasn't really my objective, I think. So.
Cool, man. That's awesome. So I thought that I was going to so I went to Florida for COVID, just like everybody else. We were locked up. Yeah. Everybody goes down to Florida. It's this free, beautiful space that no locked up. I feel like a lot of people are like kind of leaving and coming back to their home now. I thought that I was going to be in Florida for the rest of my life.
Right.
I was like, here we go. Like sun all the time, 24/7, kind of like San Diego. It was always nice down there. But but then here I am. So it's been an interesting kind of circle back, closer to family. And I think when I was younger, I didn't really understand the value in that. I was like, man, I hate the cold up here in Illinois, Wisconsin area. Like, it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me now, the answer is like both. Like snowbirding, I understand why so many people snowbird instead of just like up and leaving.
Yeah.
So kind of excited for this next chapter here. Again, just really want kids. I have a marathon on Sunday. That's actually going to be super exciting. Yeah.
How's that training been for that?
It's been fine. I'm not too concerned about the marathon, but
You're just a natural athlete.
I'm not. I don't want to be that guy, but like I can run. Like it is what it is. But like
Not me.
so, do you know David Goggins?
Of course.
Yeah. So read his book, and I'm pushing. So next race is 50. That'll be in 2 months. 50 miles in 2 months. I think it's up in Wisconsin, and then after that, I'm gonna try to hit 100 miles.
Wow.
So that'll be fun, and then I'll probably swap to triathletes after that.
That's awesome, man.
So that's kind of been my little work towards journey right now outside of the business. That's been enjoyable.
Love that.
So clientele, let's dive into a little bit about like who ends up purchasing for you most. Is it people that have kids already?
Sure.
Between what age are these kids do you see most of the time? Like who's your ideal perfect customer?
Sure. I mean, short answer is everybody. Right. I mean, from the fence side, right, it's everything. From maybe the older generation that's settling down and looking to just, improve their security or, privacy, or they're planning to put in a playground or something for their kids and want to make sure that they're safe
or grandkids.
Right, their grandkids.
Do you ever get like grandparents? Like,
all the time. I
feel like that would be
it's a very, very popular gift, right? Again, grandparents, at least I grew up with, now one's my boss, but my grandparents, they want to give you the world, right?
Yeah.
And they want to see their grandchildren have everything. And a huge part of a childhood is that playground or trampoline or basketball hoop, right? So ultimately, that is a huge market of individuals that are coming into our showroom or I'm working with all the time. So that's very popular. But I would say
Side note here, which is very interesting and kind of left field, but I'm going to say it anyways.
Go for it.
There's a book down there called The Selfish Gene, and it talks about grandparents and their role in the biological role of creating a better life for their grandchildren.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting kind of thing in process that I didn't understand prior to reading that book. So interesting that you say that. Super cool.
Right.
My mind is headed there.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of their purpose too, is to make sure that their grandchildren can have a sound quality life, and very interesting.
100%.
Okay, sorry.
100%. No, that's good, man. No, that is definitely a huge group persona, if you want to call it, if we want to get into a marketing term, that we deal with all the time. But I would say, like, by far none, the number one is that young family that maybe, again, let's give like a perfect example, right? Young family, maybe grew up in the suburbs as a kid, but then, as they got older and, they moved to the city, and now it's time to move back to the suburbs, right? So again, you could put an age group on it, right? Nowadays, it's so spread out, but I've worked with, parents as young as, 26 upwards to, infinity. But I would say that, age of like 20, 27, 26, 27 on the very low end up to, that mid-30s, that, again, if we want to call that the prime age gap of starting a family, starting a life, and moving to, the suburbs. And not to discredit or may have you, is, we still do plenty of work. Fences in the city, the city's huge, right? And for fences, we go as far like north as like Libertyville, Lake Bluff, in the suburbs side, and then as far south as like, Old Town, Logan Square, Bucktown, Jefferson Park, that Logan Square, that area, if you want to look at it that way, Lincoln Park, right? And then that's kind of our map for fences. For playground, basketball, trampoline, pretty much anywhere, within the Chicagoland area, we'll go to for playground, basketball, trampoline. But anyway, just to kind of wrap that on in a bow, yes, I would say our number one persona is that young family that's moving to the suburbs, just bought a home. They, of course, you want a fence. That's very important, right? I wouldn't say go ahead and get, all these awesome fun things if you don't have the privacy and security to keep your kids safe.
For sure.
But then very fast follow, And again, you could put age groups on each product, and we can get into that. But that's high
What
level.
is the ratio? So I feel like a lot of people are not having as many kids, and family size is decreasing. People are getting older, etc.
Sure.
Very interesting. Dogs versus kids. How many people are getting fences for dogs instead of kid?
Yeah, no, we just had actually Chewy.com just reached out to us. They want to
Nice.
learn about that, so that's cool.
That's a big partnership.
Oh,
Like,
God.
holy shit.
Yeah, and again, we're a
Super
small
excited.
local family business, so it's just been so cool to be, getting
Good for
reached
you
out
guys.
to by WGN, CBS, Chewy, ESPN, where people are, again, you talked about it, right? I think as soon as people are aware that we exist, right? Again, and I stress this enough, there is the reputation, the counts, and the referrals that we've built up, and that will continue. People talk, right? You can have the most amazing marketing campaigns and so many different avenues, but ultimately, and I don't know about you, but when I need something, or like I need a product or service, right? I need to get a haircut. I need a plumber. I'm texting my closest friends, hey, who have you used, right? So that, I believe, entirely, will always be number one, right? But to gain access to the market of people that don't know who you are, or are those keyboard warriors that we talked about that are going to Google. If you're not in that top, first page, people aren't going to page 2 or 3.
100%, no question.
And it's a shame, again, and that's why I'm so excited for the growth and the amount of, I believe, the new families that we're going to reach. Is that was something we not neglected, but again, maybe there wasn't just like that digital presence, or that, or the acknowledgement that it is important that we do shift or add that to our repertoire. Otherwise, again, the competition will fester, or will attack that, right? So,
Sure.
With that all said, it's a very interesting space. But yeah, Chewy.com, back to that, they want to write a piece on what is the importance of dog safety and the importance of a fence, and it is so important. So yeah, I would say a lot of times, when we get calls, right, a lot of times it's just general, hey, you just moved into a house, old fence is here, you guys take it down and put up a new one. And then there's sometimes where people are very specific, like, hey, I got 2 crazy dogs, they're digging underneath our old fence, and I can't do this anymore, or jumping over our really small picket fence, and we need a taller, security, privacy type fence. So again, you name it, we've heard it. But at the end of the day, yes, a fence is, again, it's maybe not the sexiest product in the world. I think back to, like, also when I moved into my new place and I needed to get a disposal, and I'm like, I don't want to spend the money on a disposal. Like, I'd rather spend it on, saving or food or whatever it may have be. And, I would say fence is definitely a step up from a disposal, but same principle apply that, again, you can get behind it, right, and get excited about it, because there's some fences I would say call like a chain link, right? Maybe not the most aesthetically pleasing product, but it serves a purpose. But now there's composite, and I mean, our wood is the best of the best. It's Western red cedar. Not to get too technical, but it is by far none the best of the best. And you can get excited about it. But I guess my point I'm trying to make is it's important, but I would say the fun and more exhilarating stuff is the other products. But
I get a lot of tenants that are like, is your yard fully fenced in? And I'm like, no. Or like, yes, some, like, one is, one isn't, right? So it's like, it's very interesting, and I think it does really matter. Like, and if I always try to have the fence, and I'm a big believer of not wood, but the composite or whatever it's called, PVC, whatever it is, just because I don't want to deal with the maintenance on it. So you might as well spend the money, etc. So the fence game has come a long way since back in the day when the plastic or the PVC wasn't out.
Right.
How long ago did that roll out, by the way? Long time, or like within the past 15, 20 years?
Definitely I would say that's, again, I don't want to guesstimate, because fence is definitely a department I'm still personally learning a lot about, so I don't want to throw a number, but I know composite for sure is definitely something really. Is
composite
new.
Wood, or
no? Composite is different recycled materials, and it's think of it just like as an upgrade, like PVC, but like the new cool cousin, right? That just came in, and It's zero maintenance
I
at
want
all.
a carbon fiber fence.
I'm kidding. Dude, right? Like, who knows? Who knows?
Someday that'll be a thing.
I am thinking about. I'm curious. Like in 20 years from now, like is it going to be the same portfolio of fence options again? And we're constantly in all departments always evaluating the best of the best on the market. And I think again something that we're very fortunate to have is that we're again being a small family boutique shop, right? We're not a big national company. We don't have massive amount of employees, installers, et cetera. We do quality over quantity every day. So a lot of customers do appreciate working with us because I'll be the first one. Let's talk playgrounds, right? I'll go out for a site visit, very tight yard. And of course I want to, fulfill their dreams of having a playground for their kids, but I'm also going to be the first one where I'm going to say, look, I'm not looking for the sale, right? If I don't feel comfortable putting our family's name behind it, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, hey, this isn't going to work. There's no custom option that I can safely put. Or we can, but you're going to have to sacrifice swings or a slide if you want to fit X, Y, Z. And that's why it is so important, again, compared to like the online only or e-commerce retailers or those big box franchise stores that are just looking for numbers. They can afford, let's say they put the set in and then the customer complains in a year or very soon after, hey, my kid just got hurt. Okay, no problem. That's different for us,
Interesting.
Different.
What's the liability on these swings, play sets, and stuff?
For sure.
Trampolines obviously pretty high.
I could talk to you about trampolines all day. There's a lot of misconceptions, and rightfully so.
So currently, I work in the insurance space.
Sure.
I've kind of bounced around and anything real estate service related, so real estate lending.
Yeah,
all that
jack of all trades. Yeah,
and I don't think it's necessarily good because I haven't really focused down on one thing. You know what I mean? So it could come at a little bit of a detriment. But I'm at the point of before I have kids, I want to try as much as I can. Once I have kids,
yes, zone in on what you
zone in the fucking. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, but anyways, yeah. So coming from an insurance side, I know that there's probably a decent amount of liability.
For sure, and I think and we're very upfront about that, and people know what they're getting, right? Again, you send your kid to camp, or my grandpa likes to always tell me the story about when we all first started riding a bike, you fell off a couple times, right? Sure. Did you stop riding a bike? No, it's part of being a kid, and again, I think there's now this era. There used to be the helicopter parent. I'm sure you've heard that term.
For sure.
There's something called now the bulldozer parent, which is even a step up from that, and again, ultimately, I don't have children yet, right? I have aspirations to have children.
You have to
for
in
sure.
Business.
That would be so.
They need a playground.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I'm grateful that I my grandfather, right? Being the the boss man of the guy in 41, I had the trampoline, the playground, the basketball hoop, in my yard growing up. So. Again, right now, one piece of rapport that I don't have yet is yes, I don't have kids of my own, but I'm not that old, right? I was not a kid too long ago, and I also literally used these products for 20 years at my own house. So we
had a trampoline, and it was the most fun. We had this jungle gym thing, not nearly as nice as you guys put in, but it was so much fun. It was very enjoyable, and I was trying to think about how to explain this when you were talking about different marketing styles and all. There's something about, for me, identifying as a family person that really attracts me to your brand.
Yeah,
it's not, I don't have kids yet, but I'm
you're honey,
that's the dad I want to fucking be. I want to be putting that shit in for my kid. So when you go to your page, it's a very warm feeling. It's very interesting.
Awesome,
it's it's very. I don't know where you could take that or whether you could learn from that, but it's very interesting. Good. And I don't know if there's other people in my position or if I'm just fucking weird, but that was there. I felt very warm and fuzzy and this is really good. So interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that is, again, I don't have some marketing agency that I'm paying to do this. It's all me, right?
Yeah,
it's very authentic, and I want to continue that. And again, I keep stressing I never want to franchise. I never want to, be backed or bought by private equity. I always want to stay true to that narrative that we are one shop, one family, one location, and stick to that. And I think people will continue to resonate with that. But yes, we have to try new channels to reach people because again, as soon as people are aware of that, it's always a place to start. I understand that not everyone may be able to afford, our products or our services.
They can make it a goal.
And that's a goal, right? And ultimately, I'm looking to always expand our product lines, but I'm never going to sacrifice safety or quality, right? So again, you got those big box stores, the big department stores that are going to have cheaper products, but you can make the case, right, that those products are not going to be the quality, and then in 2 years from now, you're having to replace it and buy it twice, when the first time you could have gotten it done the right way or something that your kids will grow into. Because yes, if you call a big box store, they don't know what your yard looks like. They're not going to come out to your house prior to the installation to ensure it's going to be safe. Maybe you have the space, but what they don't see is the roots on the ground that are going to make the installation uneven. And those are really the important things that people may not always consider.
Do you have to permit the playground or just the fence?
So there's actually, funny enough, for fences in the suburbs, we get permits every time. You have to.
What's the height typically? The height?
6 feet.
6.
Yeah. Again, I think there's exceptions depending on situations. Maybe it's a commercial setting, and so there's. But generally speaking,
6.
It's 6. But regarding, there's a couple villages that do require the permits. One being Glencoe for playgrounds, and then trampolines for Winnetka. But aside from
trampolines need a permit in Winnetka?
Trampolines, yeah. And again, it comes.
Fuck?
Yeah.
What sort of sorcery is this?
There's certain requirements there. I know, right? It's like, it's so random, but there are certain requirements like off of the fence line, right? So like if your trampoline's here, you need to be X amount of feet away from the fence. You need to ensure
strangulation by regulation,
right? You have to ensure that, like from a privacy perspective, that your fence is high enough, hopefully at 6 feet, so that if the kids are jumping, you're not peeping over someone's yard. So there's some really weird things like that, but all things that, again, I'm never going to. So I have customers that will call and say, "Hey, Jake, will you we don't want to deal with the whole permit thing. Like, can you do it?" I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not putting our family's name behind something for one sale. It's not worth it. And that kind of goes back to the whole narrative,
interesting,
right? That it took me so long to learn that. I think first when I started in my career in the family here in the business, I took every customer and sale so personally, right? If I couldn't help them or they went another route, I would get so down on myself. Like, how could I have helped them more? All these things. In reality, it's not personal. That's a really hard lesson to learn, not just in my business, I'm sure in yours too. It is easier said than done not to take things personally, because you care, right? When you really care about what you do, what you offer, and someone doesn't either appreciate it or see the value in it, you're going to question yourself. Right?
I think that there's a point in time where you realize the patterns and understand why, even without them saying why. At least that's something that I've got, because I don't take it personally. I think a lot of people don't like the way who I am, what I say, etc. So they won't work with me, right?
Sure.
But a lot of people fucking love what I say and love what I do and will work with me because I am so open, honest, etc. And I take a unique angle on a lot of things. It's been interesting, but I always took it as a challenge to figure out why, so that I could improve. And once you make those mental paths of like, okay, they said this, or like, okay, they didn't respond to that one. Like, I know which direction they're going and I know why for the majority. It's been interesting.
You build up those use cases over time.
Exactly.
Right, to pick up on, is someone a serious buyer or someone just looking to get information. You got to read the room, right? And I think social awareness is so key, right? Like, there'll be customers that come in and they want the full shebang, right? They want me to walk through all of our offerings, all of the products, customize some things, whether they have the vision for themselves and like, Jake, I want, 2 slides, a rock wall, or, I want a basketball hoop that is adjust from 6 feet to 10. Like, a lot of customers do come in with that vision. They've done their research, they've done their due diligence, and they come in with a plan. There's some people that have no idea where to start, and I'm here for all of those things. And some people just know exactly what they want. I want this. What's the price, right? Mm-hmm. And they want to just get straight to the point, whether they're busy or they just don't care about the full consultation. Again, I have my moral compass in my line where I'm going to draw, where, again, if I don't feel comfortable knowing what your space look like, again, I'm not sending my team out there to install it. We get out there and your yard's a complete mess, or it's not level enough to do the installation. Now I just deployed my team out to a job where that could have been for someone else.
I'm assuming you allow them to take video and send them video, correct?
Of course, yeah. And that's for sure. At the end of the day, it's whatever the customer's most comfortable with, right? You can imagine in our springtime, it is bonkers, right? I'm doing site visits, before work, after work, during the day when I can. I also want to be at the office because people are coming in. So it is chaotic, especially.
You guys have like a showroom, like a whole.
Oh yeah, in Northbrook,
I
showroom.
gotta swing up there.
Oh yeah, dude, stop by anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got our playgrounds, our basketball, our trampoline, and tons of fences out there. In our showroom, and it's indoors. So that was something. Again, when we were at 41, like everything was outside, which was great from a visibility perspective. But come the winter time, and that's a huge market too. You would think
People get bored probably. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I can't wait for spring. Like, fuck
Sure.
this. I've been cooped up.
and also just kind of financially, plan as well
Sure.
as they got. Hey, it's winter time. Let's start budgeting and planning out our spring projects, because this goes for both fences and the play products. Is again, the spring is going to be the most popular time. Common sense a little bit, or just think about it, right? If I'm going to get, let's say, a playground, I want it at the start of spring when it starts to get nice out. Then you have all of spring, all of summer, all fall, and then we have Chicago winters. And again, our products you can use throughout, all year. But no one also really wants to go outside when it's 0 degrees. Let's be real.
Yeah.
We're out in Florida, or we're inside, and we're getting ourselves better for that time when it's ready to go outside.
Yeah.
So, that's a whole thing. So, but yeah, I would say that's huge. So
So you talked about not installing things without permits, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody's trying to save money, cut corners, cut time.
Yeah.
And very specifically in the real estate, like contracting space of like, I've done a lot of remodels, flipped a lot of properties, and I always try to slide by without permits and all this stuff, just because like it does take so long. And I feel like it's such an invasive process. So
for sure,
I guess one, we could maybe talk about that, but two, can we go back to the liability question? Like, what liability is involved with like the trampoline and like that? Like,
sure.
What do you recommend? Like, where do you go from there?
For sure. From like our angle, right? We're licensed, we're bonded, we're insured. Both. From all angles. So from our angle, we're always protected. It's my job, and either my dad or my uncle, whoever is doing from the fence side, that we are crossing our I's and dotting our I's and crossing our T's to ensure that. Again, I keep saying that no one job is worth skipping a permit process or going around the corner, because it will cost either more to the customer or us as a company, or the liability from just a moral compass of the children or their family being in harm's way. And that is what's most important to us. So again, there's no job, I can stress that, and I can't stress that enough. There's no one job that is worth it. So again, from our angle, we have all the licensing and insurance that we need to do our job, but it's also the human element of, again, just being a human being, right? I don't want to put something like, there's like physical, actual, literal liability, and then there's like the moral liability. That, again, I've gone to people's houses and they are so excited to get that trampoline or that playground. And, I don't want to be the one to have to, it sucks to say, hey, look, it's not going to work. But people appreciate that more at the end of the day. It stings at first, but it's.
I think there's a lot of like parent disagreements about trampolines, how safe they are, how unsafe they are.
Yeah.
So back when we had a trampoline in our house.
Yeah, tell me, what did it look like?
Mom,
describe it. I want to see. Yeah, how did your trampoline look?
It was in the corner next to a chain link fence with a net.
So you had the net.
You like bounce on the net. So at one point, like the net was like getting ripped because it was getting caught in the chain. We were doing like ridiculous, stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like as kids do, right? So I mean, so trampoline with a net, and my sister's friend was over and like hurt herself on the trampoline, right? And then you got to tell the parent, right, of the kid that's over visiting at your house. A lot of liability now there that I understand the insurance space. But I would presume that parents are a little bit nervous for trampolines.
For sure.
I would presume that that's probably a top objection, is like, how safe is it? Like, he thinks it's a great idea. I think it's a terrible idea. I don't want my kids to get hurt. He wants them to have fun. Like, have you experienced that dynamic before?
Oh, 1,000%. And again, trampolines do have a very negative connotation. I tell
they're
people,
so fun.
Yeah. Oh my God. You either love them or you hate them. The people that hate them have that story that either their doctor said, don't put your kid on a trampoline, or their friend's kid, hurt themselves on the trampoline, and rightfully so. It's hard to get that out of your head. So I'm very sympathetic to that and not ignorant to the fact that yes, trampolines can be, a safety concern. So as a family business, all we can do is, again, provide the safest product on the market that we feel comfortable putting our name behind. But yes, I go back to that. Maybe we talked about the bicycle example, right? Growing up, we rode a bike, we fell off, we didn't stop. It's just part of being a kid and part of it. Yes, you put your kids on a trampoline. There's obviously things you can instill as a parent, right? I know growing up, we had on our trampoline a list of rules, right? Hey, only 2 kids at a time. Can you do more? Of course, but then that comes down to the liability back to the parent.
Exactly.
But you can install the rules. No flips, no this, right? So I always tell customers and families, look, you install your own rules. I'm promising you that as a family business, and only for the longest time, and again, I'm constantly evaluating. I'm looking at other companies or suppliers to bring in because, again, there's new shapes coming out and new technology and all those things.
In-ground. Sounds
in-ground
fucking sick.
Oh my god, that's a whole
that would
other
be
thing.
so cool, dude.
I've been looking. They are beautiful, and I think if you're in California or something, like it totally makes sense. But it is a fortune. We don't do don't do installations for in-ground. We just do our above ones. I can get you an in-ground one, the materials, but regarding the installation, typically that's done by like a landscaper or something like that, and it is a fortune, right? Quadruple, quintuple, or whatever the number.
What do they do? Like, do they just dig a hole and fill it in with gravel, or
no,
like
it was that simple.
break it.
There's there's tons of there's water that could be encroaching underground. There's so many things you got to build, like a little retaining wall as well inside. It's not as simple as dig the hole and put a trampoline. There's a lot of things that are going under different public and private utilities. There's tons of things that people are just like, oh, I'll just do an in-ground trampoline, and then when they find out, when I say, look, I can get you the in-ground, you may want to get a few quotes from some landscapers on the installation, and then they're like, Jake, I'm going to go above ground. That's ridiculous. If I was using it all year round, okay, let's talk about it. But other than
that's true. You have winter maintenance on that thing.
Oh my god.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
But the above ground ones that that we sell. Again, what was your enclosure like? Did you have a zip up or a Velcro or what was it?
Zip up.
Zip up. See, like that scares me. Like I would never want to sell, a zip up or a Velcro. And again, next year there could be something that comes out where it is much more substantial. But the ones that I've seen on the market, and I've tried numerous different suppliers, and we get calls all the time because people know that we're one of the very few, if not the only, brick and mortar, people can come in and test it out and, provide that full service. So we are a hot spot for suppliers to call us and see if we'll sell their product. And for 30 years, it's only been one company. And that being said, the zip ups and Velcros do scare me. Because for one, are kids really going to, and maybe you can attest it, I don't know if you every time remembered or did zip it up, or if it got jammed up after being Wisconsin winters, right? Like it's
my mom. There were no rules. We didn't care. We were flipping, like getting hurt. 12
Wisconsin, man.
Wisconsin. We were just like there was no live-in fear. It was like live-in fun.
Sure. So again, just to wrap that up, right? Like again, it's the enclosure is important, right? The netting is important. So when someone comes into our showroom, my grandpa, he's in his office and I can see him through, his window. He'll look at me and I know he's waiting for me to get on the trampoline, and I'll show the customer. I will run into the wall. I will run into the poles to show how sturdy and stable ours are. And I'll even fall back into the enclosure, which the one we have, that we're selling currently for the last 30 years is a double enclosure. So the net overlaps each other versus like a zip up or, a Velcro. Again, Chicago winters, that Velcro is going to unstick eventually. That zipper is going to get jammed up. Mind you, if the kids even remember to try to enclose it, this you literally can't get out unless you want to, right? So all those things.
You kind of go through one, down the way a little bit, go through the other. It's like bob and weave between them.
Think about it's like an overlapping like this, and then you sneak through here. So imagine you're on the trampoline, you fall backwards. You have to literally be like a worm to like.
Yeah, it's like slither.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And again, I grew up with it. I had it in my house for 20 years.
That's so fun.
And it holds up. And also the one we have right now, it's got 2 layers of jumping mat. So let's say in 15 years, a hole pops up on the top because a rodent or something eats through it. You just flip the mats and you got a brand new trampoline. So
there you go.
Again, to wrap that all up, I think there's one company in particular that sells a springless trampoline, right? So they took a they took a pain point, right? Where people have the assumption that, oh, springs are dangerous. Well, yes, the springs meaning like on the outside of the trampoline.
Yeah, you get sometimes your foot will go through there and then you're stuck.
Yeah, 20 years ago, sure, but the trampoline that we offer, the padding is so substantial that like it is near damn impossible to pinch yourself on it. So this one company in particular that sells like a springless, spring-free trampoline that have like a large contract with Costco, they're mass produced, etc. They call they took a pain point, they put a ton of marketing dollars behind it, and I've been on it, and I went to a store that actually has it in their place, and I almost got kicked out because the thing was shaking and so forth. Even crazy. The basketball, you can add a little basketball hoop add on, and I dunked on it, the thing came down, it was a whole mess. And we just installed one of our trampolines at a customer's house, and they had this other trampoline next door. So we're installing it, and we see their trampoline like lifting up, and it's like, so again, it's just it pains me to see how much shading and so forth, and with marketing, how some of these companies can get away with that, and it's unfortunate that consumers are getting the brunt end of that. So with all that said, my goal is to kind of help customers cut through all that stuff and can go, hey, when I call FenceWorks, when I call the guy in 41, I can already know that they are constantly doing their due diligence to only provide the safest and best products, and I don't have to look anywhere else. But they're going to also be the first ones to tell me if something doesn't work or if I should go elsewhere for my specific needs. And that sounds salesy, but it's really the honest truth for so many reasons that we talked about.
Interesting. The last thing that I want to talk about, and it might be different question, but like product liability, right? Like let's talk about, so let's say somebody gets injured on the trampoline or on the jungle gym. What happens then? Can they reach out to the manufacturer? Does the manufacturer offer any like warranties, coverage, etc.? Like
Sure. So all of our products are backed by Fence is a whole, other thing, but the short answer is you're always going to be backed, right? Yeah. We aren't a call center. So if something goes wrong, you call Jake, you talk to my uncle, you talk to my grandfather, may have you, and we're going to go to bat for you. So I'll give an example, like, our basketball hoops, our playgrounds, trampolines are backed by what's called a limited lifetime warranty. People that say, oh, lifetime warranty, you have to add the limited part for two reasons, and it makes very much logical sense. The things that it doesn't cover, right, is acts of God, which is, for example, like if a tree falls on your product, right, that's not a product defect. That's something completely out of everyone's control. So, the warranty can't back that, right? And then number two is foul play, right? So let's say you have a kid with a baseball bat and they go to your basketball hoop and they throw it at the tempered glass backboard or throw a baseball at it. Like no, right? The warranty's not going to cover that. But everything else, right? It's a case-by-case basis. You say, Jake, here's what happened. My job is to fight for you with our respective supplier and, of course, get the materials and get it replaced. And that's something that we stand by our products, and that is a huge difference compared to working with, you buy a product on an Amazon or an e-commerce only company that's massive. Good luck, right? Good luck hearing back from them, and it's unfortunate. Right, because again, there is so much liability with these products as it is. So, you want to have a company that has your back when, if in fact something does go south, you're protected and taken care of, and so it's fun, man. It's fun, man. But that's customers really appreciate that
for sure. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we wrap it up? Any like tidbits you came in here that you want to share that make your company stand out beyond the kind of like the family aspect, third generation, local, etc.? Is there any like tidbits like that or?
Yeah, I think no, and Alec, I appreciate you having me on. I had a lot of fun. This is my life, man. It's like, again, that is something different than. Again, and I'm very grateful for my prior work experience and whether it was in San Diego or the consultant, again, the work ethic and learning, more about, digital offerings to best serve our clients. Again, there's the marketing side as well as operationally, right? Bringing a CRM to our website to manage our contacts and our customer information safely, securely, and efficiently. So when you do call, we know exactly, who you are, what you got, so we can serve you, as best as we can. So again, I think ultimately my journey is starting off with that low-hanging fruit, bringing in DocuSign so you don't have to print out. Like, I don't even have a printer in my house anymore.
Man,
right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, especially, again, I go back to when I first came into the family business. I didn't want to just be like trying to come in here and change everything. Like, who am I, right? Like, and even with that said, with my last name and, you know, within the company, right, people are I have to work twice as hard because, again, there's that stigma that, oh, it's the, you know, the grandson's kid. And I have always wanted to fight against that, right, to show that, hey, I'm not just the grandson. This is my life. I want to pass this down to my kids and have fourth and fifth and sixth generation and continue to stand by our moral ground of being, again, I've said it 1,000 times, but one family, one location, that's it, right? And I think with the new types of marketing, and I hate the word marketing, it's really, you know, spread awareness that, hey, families of Chicagoland, right? We're the place to start. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna be transparent. We're gonna be upfront. We're gonna have your best interest because ultimately, as a small business, we don't have the time to risk a job just for the sale. We don't. Both because we're small and numbered, we're quality over quantity every time. So I think, yeah, I guess again, I could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
This is great, but I guess to put a final bow on it, ultimately, I urge people to do their due diligence again, and not just our business, to work locally. I can attest from it firsthand as just a consumer myself, working with, or, you know, when I go to a big box store and the experience versus a local business, you know that when you buy something local, that it's with heart, it's with care. You're not just another number in the system. So whether it's a fence, right now, again, the fence market has been, aside from us, most of the companies are, you know, franchised out or backed by private equity and aren't, you know, people that actually have, when they say they've been in business for 45 years, yeah, you know, John Doe, you know, 10 years ago when he was in the business, yeah, it was a great shop. Now it's different. And that goes for playground basketball, trampolines, you know, with the franchisees and so forth and the e-commerce. Touch and feel the product before you buy. Make sure it's going to fit in your yard. And I'm excited for the future, man. So again, appreciate you having me on. So
of course, and I'm definitely going to come up to that
Please,
to the
anytime.
office, the showroom up there, and check things out. So
Anytime,
thanks for
man.
coming on, man.
Appreciate it, man.